Good evening, everyone. We continue in our study in the book of Job. We are in chapter 32 today. This entire discourse is taking a turn. We have heard from Job's three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. And then you have heard how Job himself had given us a very lengthy discourse maintaining his innocence. So we need to understand that we have the discourse between Job and then his three friends who came from afar. This would be Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Today we see another individual coming out, and his name is Elihu. And let me introduce him into this picture. We have Elihu. Now, all this while, we have been hearing how these three friends and Job has been having their discourse. And Elihu appears to be one of the people who are just listening to all these things. In the course of going through the next few chapters, you would see that Elihu is a young man. Now, let's begin by understanding that in chapter 32, we are seeing Elihu discoursing with the three friends. And then later, he will discuss directly with Job. So we are now in chapter 32, and chapter 32 is with regard to the three friends. So as we begin, just bear that in mind. Whatever we also go through in chapter 32, you also need to understand that these are instances where each of the three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, Zohar, has been saying about Job that he has sinned and God has punished him greatly. Job has always maintained his innocence. And now Elihu steps up, and we see the scenario changes. These three men stopped answering Job. Now, this word then is and then, and we can see that from a narrative standpoint, after chapter 31, these three men who would be Bildad, Eliphaz, and Zophar, these are the three men, they're said to have stopped answering Job. Now, the idea of stop answering Job basically comes from the word Shabbat. Now, I'm sure you know this word. The word Shabbat means that they cease, they stopped. As much as you know the day of rest, which is the Sabbath day, it comes from the same root word that these people now stopped saying anything to Job. And so they did not reply Job any longer. And so this idea of ceasing gives us a picture that they have stopped talking about Job. They have stopped trying to convince Job that he has sinned. And the reason being is that they see that he was righteous in his own eyes. Righteous means just. Uh, Tzaddik, right? This is the word, tzaddik. And notice everything is about eyes. In the Hebrew language, like most Oriental language, including Chinese, much of the concepts of what is good and evil, what is right and wrong, what is grace, what is in this case righteous, is also from the eyes of the beholder. And so these three friends looks at Job and says that he is unrighteous. That's why he is suffering. But Job, in his own eyes, looks at himself and he considers himself righteous, that he does not deserve this predicament. And hence, that crisscross that goes back and forth has come to an end. And it says that there was a yish batul, which is to tell them that they ceased. They ceased. They stopped. They rested. I think that would be a way of looking at it as well. They rested their mouths, if you want to put it that way. But the anger of Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Budzite, the family of Ram, burned against Job. And so you need to understand that these goes in a pair, anger and burning. And understand this, when it says anger in the English here, it means that his nose is hot. And that's the imagery of the word. The nose is hot. Now, this word here, uh, burn, also comes from the same word. The nose is hot against Job. All right. And then his anger burn. Now, all of this is the same idea. The nose is hot, right? That's the idea of anger. Burn, anger, burn, because he justified himself. And so understand that all of these is about hot nose. Now, Elihu is this individual right here. Now, he's coming out and he's upset with Job because he considers himself more righteous than God. Now, this is a very important word phrase here. Job sees himself more righteous than God. Now, this is a dangerous term to be in. More righteous than God. We are not here to be more right than God. God is right, and that's all there is. Now, you can't be more right than God. And if that is the case, then there is a complete misunderstanding of what has happened. And so you can see that the reason why Job sees himself more righteous than God is because Job sees himself as righteous, and yet calamity has befallen him. And so he says it doesn't work, it doesn't make any sense. The right will be blessed and the wicked punished. But he is right and yet he is punished. Something is wrong. And so in those outbursts in chapter 31, so Elihu says that's not right. We may not understand, but you cannot say that God may have made an error there. And so Job is saying, I haven't done anything wrong. Can you tell God to weigh me? Because I really want to know. Now, there is a second instance that Elihu had behaved angrily. Verse 3, and his anger burned against his three friends. Again, the word anger is nose is hot. Against the three friends. Who are the three friends? Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Why? Because they had found no answer, yet they had condemned Job. Now, this is important to understand, because the condemnation of Job is based on the fact that the three friends had accused Job of grievous sins. And Job says no. And so they had no evidence, and yet they condemn Job. Now, the idea of condemn in this case means to cause him to be guilty. All right. This is the word, cause him to be guilty. It is the three friends who decided that he is guilty. That would be the idea of condemning Job. This is not about cursing. This is about answering Job to show him that he must have sinned. So that's the idea of all their accusations. Now, Elihu, he had waited. Now, the idea of waiting is what we all know. Take his turn. Why did he take his turn? Because he wasn't older. He took his turn to speak to Job because they were years older than he, which means that Job and the three friends were many years older. Now, this word here, older, is in terms of age. And so, in the mind of Elihu, age is to be respected. And age means they are the elders. And they are supposed to be wiser. Now, that's the whole idea. And so he took the turn to wait. So he allowed the three friends, but now it is his turn. So that is what it means. And he's speaking to Job, and he is even older. But when Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of the three men, his anger burned. So all of this is about nose getting hotter. Now you need to understand that Elihu had a totally different perspective than the three friends. And he also understood where Job was coming from when there was no answer. Now, the idea of answer would be response to show their evidence. They had nothing to counter Job. And so Elihu had experience. He has physically seen. He watched. He observed. These are very concrete words, and he understood what has happened in the entire conversation up till chapter 30. Now, in verse 6, it says, so Elihu, and the word so is, and then, after saying this, Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Buzi, spoke out. The idea of speaking out to say this. He replied, and he said these words. He says, I was young in years, and you are old. Therefore, I was shy and afraid to tell you what I think. Now, this is interesting to see the attitude of Elihu. In this case, you see that Elihu says, I am young in years, meaning younger by age. And you are old or elderly by age. Remember, this is an Oriental discourse. And in an Oriental discourse, you always let the older people speak first. And so he says, therefore, I was shy. Now, this word shy is a very unusual word. The word shy means to shrink back. Shrink back. You could say that this would also mean to be afraid because he was younger. So he stood back. And then the second word here is also afraid. But this word afraid is to be in awe, right? Be in awe, terrified. And so both are words to describe the fear. So this would be an A and a B. Both are saying that he was shy, he shrunk back, he was afraid because he was young, and he was terrified that these are all the elderly men, the wise men of the town. And so I dare not say what I think. Now, the idea I dare not say what I think means to say my uh my knowledge or my thoughts. And this is a very oriental practice that the young people are supposed to just keep quiet and let the elderly people speak. And he explains himself in verse 7. He says, I had thought, that was in his mind, that age should speak. Now, in verse 7, this is an implication of age. Literally, it means days should speak, which really means that if you have been living for many days, you should speak. And this means old. The old one should speak. And increased years should teach wisdom. Now, increased years means um, multitude of years. Again, old. So we have an A and a B. And so speak, not just speak anything, it is to express wisdom. And so this comes with the Oriental idea all is wise. That is in the mind of Elihu. I thought all means wise. In verse 8, he is saying that, well, I am probably wrong, right? Older does not mean wiser. He says it is the spirit that is in man. Now, this word in man, uh, this word in man, this would be in mortal man. So the word spirit is ruach, right? Ruach. And then it says the breath of Shaddai gives them understanding. So the idea here of breath in verse 8 is neshama. You see this in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And God breathed into man's nostril, and that idea of breathing in would be the breath of God, neshama. And this is also A and B, right? Right here, the spirit and the breath is both the, how would you say, it would be very much the spirit or the character of man is through the spirit and the breath that God has given them. And as they age, they are supposed to be wiser, right? That's what is being said. The abundant in years may not be wise, nor may elders understand justice. But in the mind of Eli, uh, Elihu now, and he says, well, it does not necessarily mean old equals wise. Does not mean that. That being an elder, that you have understanding, it doesn't mean that. That's what he says. Verse 10. So I say, listen to me, and I will tell you what I think. I will express my opinion. Because Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar had spent countless pages giving their own opinion. So it says, now you listen to me, my turn. 11. Behold, I waited for your words. I listened to your skillful speech. This one is an A and then a B. It's about listening, thinking, and then he pondered what to say. Now, the idea of pondered what to say is to rightly examine, thought through. Now, this is a very important expression because now when you have the three friends yakking away at Job, and we have Elihu watching, as he sees what is happening, he is thinking. So this is a very wise young man. He is thinking what is happening. He is thinking what to say. He is thinking what is the right thing to express and how to express it. I think here in one little verse tells us that even this young man is showing us what true wisdom really is. It's not about shooting your mouth and aggressively insisting you're right, but really weighing the words to help people think what is said is something worth considering. I also paid close attention to you, but indeed there was no one who refuted Job, not one of you who answered his words. So he was listening. And if you look at verse 12, he says, I attended, I paid close attention to you. This is a good word to use, but there was no one who refuted Job. The idea here is to, to correct Job, to convince Job, to prove who is right. There was none. The three friends couldn't do that because Job had asked, if I had done wrong, show me, tell me. So this is about reasoning. They couldn't. They could say a whole lot of things, but they couldn't show the evidence. None of you had answered words that, well, in this case, what is appropriate. So this word answered his words is to find ways of being appropriate. Verse 12 is a very important accusation by Elihu against the three friends. You could not refute the statements, you could not clarify. And so this would be an A and a B, right? Refute, clarify. Basically, they can't show Job why he is wrong. This is important because Elihu is young and he's observing, and they have said so many things accusing, condemning Job. And in the mind of Elihu, they are wrong. They couldn't prove anything to Job. So proving by reason is also a very important aspect of convincing someone. Now, this is with the assumption that people are logical, They are not emotional. They are not simply throwing out accusations like the three friends. So Elihu believes that it is important to reason things out. Verse 13, and it says, lest you say we have found wisdom, God will defeat him, not a man, not man, right? Not man would defeat him. Now, this is a challenge to the three friends. The three friends. What he is basically saying is that they have no wisdom. Don't say you have found wisdom, you have none. Because you are saying everything and accusing Job, and it is God who has smitten him, struck him, not man. And this is a very clear understanding. God did it. It is not man's doing. And this is his summary of what has happened to Job. But he has not presented his words against me, nor will I reply him to your argument. So whatever you guys have discussed, nothing to do with me. They are dismayed. They no longer answered. Words have failed them. And this has to do with the three friends. They have stopped talking. Verse 16. Should I wait because they are not speaking? Because they have stopped and no longer answer? And so this is Elihu saying, I am not waiting anymore. You have nothing else to say, so it's my turn. Verse 17, I too will give my share of answers. So I will answer as well. I will speak. I guess you can say in verse 17, I will speak my share. The word of answers is given by the translator by implication. But basically, he says, I will give my share, and with this, of my opinion of things. So the word of answers, not that it's wrong, it's just that I think it would be better to say it is of my opinion. I will also express my opinion, so you find that this is an A and a B. It is his turn to say his piece. Verse 18, I am full of words. Now, this is important. The word full is filled to overflowing. And then you need to understand, Elihu has been watching and watching, and he wants to answer, he can't. He feels compelled to wait, and then it builds up inside him. So the spirit within me compels me. Uh, Now, verse 18 says that the idea of compelling is oppressing him. This word inside of me, within me, means in my belly. And so, if you want to think of it in a more imagery way, it means the wind inside him is churning him. This is a very, I guess, a very picturesque expression that he is frustrated watching. He wants to say, but he can't, and he's just containing his opinions to himself. And he's saying, "Wow, the wind that's inside me is building to such a degree that I am about to explode." And he comes to verse 19. Behold, my belly is like unvented wine. This idea here is telling him that uh, my belly, right here, my belly, you can also see here my belly. These are the bellies, right? The word for bellies. And so you could see the expression here within my belly and my belly. I prefer to use the same word so that you understand. So my belly is like unvented wine, wine that is not open, not opened wine. Unvented means unopened. And so you find that the alcohol inside is released in the bag of wine, and the wine is expanding. So it says, like new wineskins, it is about to burst. Now, in the old days, you find that everything is in wineskin. And what's happening here is that if you have new wine, right, new wine, you will have alcohol expanding it. And alcohol is seen as spirit or wind, something you can't see. It's just growing. And so it says it is about to burst. This word here is to split open, like a balloon about to explode. That is the picture that he is uh, building up here as a picture for us to understand. So understand that Elihu is a frustrated young man that is bottled up with respect to the elderly people who is before him. And he now feels that it's his turn because he just can't hold it up anymore. He is about to burst. Verse 20, let me speak so that I may get relief. It says, let me be, and so that um, I will be relieved. The idea of relieved literally means um, to breathe again, to be able to breathe. That is about relief. To be able to um, be delighted again, right? Be relieved. I think is a good word to express, so that the air inside of him, the spirit inside of him, can be released. The wind is released. So when you have wind in your body, it is very important to release the wind so that you feel better again. And that's the word. May get relief again. Let me open my lips and answer. So this is about speaking open lips. And when he answers, he gets relief because he gets to say what's in his mind. He has held back so much. And so he speaks this way. Let me be partial to no one. Now, there is a way of expressing this. So let me give you the literal. The literal means let me not respect any man's person. This is a literal translation. Or let me not show favor to any man. So what is he saying? Well, the English here is let me not be partial. That is correct. But literally it says, let me not show favor. And the word show favor is lived face, or the word countenance. You remember the Aaronic blessing. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you. That's the same word, showing favor. And when God lifts up his face upon you, he would smile at you. That's favor, showing grace. So this way, Elihu says, let me not just simply show favor to any man, nor flatter any man. Now, this is not an English word we're talking about. This word flattering uh, means that he should not, how should we say? The idea here is you should not eulogize, right? Should not eulogize. Uh, I think this word eulogize is flattering and is a good word. It is to address with honor, right? With additional honor. Now, why is this called eulogize? Is that whenever you at a funeral, when eulogy is expressed, it is always expressed with the superlative to focus on the honor of the one who has passed away. And so he's saying, I'm not going to eulogize anyone here. I am going to treat everybody as equal. So we have an A and a B. All are equal. The three friends and Job. For I do not know how to flatter, how to express this kind of honor. Otherwise, my maker will quickly take me away. Or the word here is would consume me. No, I think this would be a good word. Consume me. The word literal would be would lift me away. Lift me away. So take me away, carry me away. But the idea here is God will punish me if that's what I'm going to do. That is what it says. Will quickly punish me. My maker is a word that's used with regards to God. And this is the one making. And by implication, the world. And so it says, my maker, the one who made me, would then take me away, would punish me, would consume me if I am going to flatter anyone or choose one to honor. And so he is going to treat everyone as they are in equality. In fact, what he is saying in not so many words is that Elihu says, I am going to be fair to everyone. That is justice. And so he is going to display young wisdom, that is the wisdom of God, in the justice of God, that doesn't favor one over another in a case before him. And so in this case, the young man Elihu is saying, I am going to do the same. Otherwise, God is going to punish me. And so with this, we come to the end of our chapter 32 today.